Section 3.5 is on equivalent statements and variations of conditional statements. Jumping right into the example, it says to show that the following are equivalent. Equivalent means that these expressions hold the same exact meaning. The way we can show that or prove that is to simply construct a truth table. And equivalent means that these expressions will have the same exact final answers, the same exact truth values, in the same exact spot. So we're going to compare their final answers. So I'm just going to make one big truth table. I'm seeing P or Q, and if not Q, then P. So they both just have two different letters. So we need a P column and a Q column. We're going to do a truth table for P or Q. And we're also going to do that truth table for if not Q, then P. So we can compare those final answers. The setup for two letters, row 1 is always true, true. Row 2, true, false. Line 3, false, true. And line 4, false, false. Let's start with the P or Q truth table. You notice I've merged both of these truth tables into one big old happy truth table. Feel free to do the same. So looking at the P or Q line, step 1, I'm going to copy and paste the P column over, which is TTFF. Can't do the arrow until I have what's on either side of it. So step 2, it's a plain old Q, so copy and paste now the Q column over, which is TF. Step 3, the down arrow means or. I'm going to apply the or arrow to what's around it. Or is very lenient. The only time you get a false is like on the bottom row when you have two F's. So two F's with an or makes a false. If you have one or two T's, like all the remaining rows do, the final answer is true. We do need to remember what or produces answer-wise in a truth table. My final answers are in red, T, 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 F. Now let's do a truth table for if not Q, then P. Step 1, negate Q. Negate meaning change to the opposite meaning. So instead of TF, TF, that's currently under the Q column, it becomes FT, FT. Step 2 is a plain old P, so copy and paste the P column over. It's TTFF. And finally, step 3, we can apply, this is the if-then conditional arrow. Recall that the only time this is false is if you have a T on the left side of it and an F on the right. As I skim all my rows, the only time I see T on the left and F on the right is the bottom row. Here's T on the left, F on the right for false. All the other scenarios produce a true with the conditional arrow. Looking at our final answers in red for both truth tables that are merged into one big truth table. The P or Q, the final answer was T, 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 F. Also for if not Q then P, final answers T, 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 F. Since both P or Q and if not Q then P have answers T, 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 F, those truth value answers in the same exact spots in the truth table, we say in math that they are equivalent. So they hold the same exact meaning in real life sentence form. You are also going to encounter some new vocabulary in this section. You're going to see words like converse, inverse, and contrapositive. Those words sound way worse than what they really are. They are just instructions of what to do to a conditional statement. The conditional is the if-then. So let's say, for example, we had if P, then Q. The converse in row 2 of my mini table here just means to switch the if-then phrases around. So then Q would be in the if portion and P would be in the then portion. from here on out, whenever I see the word Converse, I'm going to think of the word switch as my memory trick. Inverse in the third row means to negate both the if and the then phrases of the original conditional statement. I'm not going to switch anything around. So if I have a P in the if portion, it becomes if not P. In the then portion, if I originally have a Q, it becomes then not Q. So I negate both the if and the then, meaning change both parts to the opposite meaning. So my memory trick for inverse is going to be the word negate. Contrapositive means I'm going to do both. I'm going to switch around the if and the then phrases, and I'm going to negate both parts. So that becomes if not Q, then not P. Now, two pairs hold the same exact meaning in everyday life. So they would produce the same answers in a truth table. The conditional, the original if-then statement, means the same as the contrapositive always. So these are equivalent. If P then Q will always mean the same as if not Q then not P. The other pair, well, the only two ones left, converse will always mean the same as inverse. These are also equivalent. So if Q then P means the same as if not P, then not Q. Looking at an example, it says to write the converse, inverse, and contrapositive of the following. Part A, they give us the sentence, if you can read this, then you are driving too closely. So the if portion, I'm going to call P. And by the way, I know this is a conditional because I literally see the words if, then. So in the if portion, the P is going to be you can read this. In the then portion of the sentence, Q is going to represent you are driving too closely. Starting with converse, we said in the above table that converse just means to switch the sentence around. So when I do that, into the if portion of the sentence is going to be you are driving too closely. So if you are driving too closely, and in the then portion is now going to be you can read this. Then you can read this. So just swap your sentence around and you have the converse. Next up is the inverse. Remembering our key phrase we mentioned earlier, inverse just means to negate both the if and the then, so change them to the opposite meaning. I don't switch anything now with inverse. It becomes if you cannot read this when we negate the if portion. If you cannot read this. When I negate the then portion, instead of you are driving too closely, it becomes then you are not driving too closely. And you are not driving too closely. So there's the inverse. I just negated both the if and the then. Finally, the contrapositive. As we mentioned earlier, means I'm going to both negate and switch the original conditional statement. So, in the if portion of the sentence, the you are driving too closely moves up and becomes you are not driving too closely. So if you are not driving too closely, the then portion, The you can read this moves into the then portion and it becomes you cannot read this. Then you cannot read this. Now the homework might take it a step further and ask you which sentences are equivalent. The original conditional will always be equivalent to the contrapositive as we have up here. So the if you can read this, then you are driving too closely will be equivalent to this contrapositive down here. The if you are not driving too closely, then you cannot read this. Those two sentences hold the same exact meaning. The converse, if they ask you what has the same meaning as if you are driving too closely, then you can read this, will always be equivalent to the inverse, which in this case was if you cannot read this, then you are not driving too closely. Let's do one more example of converse, inverse, and contrapositive. So this is part B of that example, same directions. Here's the original conditional. If the stereo is playing, then I cannot hear you. I see the words if, then, so I am given a conditional statement. So here's P, the stereo is playing. Q, I cannot hear you. I'll start with converse. And as long as you remember, converse just means switch the if-then phrases around, you're good to go. So now the if portion will be, I cannot hear you. So if I cannot hear you, now in the then portion, the stereo is playing. Converse, if I cannot hear you, then the stereo is playing. Now we're going to do the inverse. And remember, inverse just means to negate both the if and the then phrases. You're not switching anything. Negate meaning change to the opposite. So instead of if the stereo is playing, it becomes if the stereo is not playing. The then portion, instead of I cannot hear you, becomes then I can hear you. If the stereo is not playing, then I can hear you. Finally, let's do the contrapositive, which means we do both switch and negate the if-then phrases. So into the if portion, I cannot hear you becomes I can hear you. So if I can hear you, into the then portion, the stereo is playing becomes the stereo is not playing. If you only see the word if, that means that the then is implied, so it is an actual conditional in disguise. Now, which sentences are equivalent? Well, the original sentence, if the stereo is playing, then I cannot hear you. That original conditional, remember that is always equivalent to the contrapositive, which was if I can hear you, then the stereo is not playing. The converse, if I cannot hear you, then the stereo is playing, is always the same as the inverse, which is if the stereo is not playing, then I can hear you.